I stood proudly watching my son Kevin dance with his new bride Amanda at their wedding reception. My heart swelled with joy until Amanda caught my eye, gesturing for a private word. Pulling me behind a decorative pillar, her beautiful face transformed into something cold. "Buy us a house, or I'll tell everyone you got me pregnant," she whispered. "You have until the end of the reception to decide." She squeezed my arm, smiling sweetly, before rejoining the celebration. My world collapsed in that moment, of what should have been pure happiness. The champagne in my hand suddenly felt heavy. I watched Kevin spin Amanda across the dance floor, her white dress floating like a cloud around them. My boy looked so happy, completely unaware of what had just happened. I raised Kevin alone after his mother Sarah died of cancer when he was just 12 years old. The memory of those early days still brings a tightness to my chest. Sarah had been my high school sweetheart, the love of my life. We had plans, dreams. Cancer took her in 8 months, leaving me with a heartbroken boy who needed his father more than ever. I owned a small private investigation agency. Nothing fancy, but it provided for us. After Sarah died, I took fewer cases, focusing on work I could do while being home for Kevin. I remember countless nights helping with homework at the kitchen table, learning to cook meals that weren't just pizza and burgers, figuring out how to talk about girls and life without his mother there to guide us. When Kevin got into state university with a partial scholarship, I was bursting with pride. He wanted to become an architect, and I worked extra cases to make sure he could focus on his studies without taking a job. Sometimes I worked 16-hour days, taking surveillance jobs that kept me in my car overnight, just to make the tuition payments. But I never complained. Kevin was worth every sacrifice. I still remember the day Kevin called about meeting Amanda. He was in his final year of university, excited about this beautiful accounting student he'd met in the campus coffee shop. Kevin had dated before, but I'd never heard that tone in his voice. "She's different, Dad," he said. "She gets me." The first time Kevin brought Amanda home for dinner, about 18 months ago, I tried to be welcoming. She was undeniably beautiful, with her long blonde hair and bright smile. She laughed at all my jokes and asked thoughtful questions about my work. But something felt off. Maybe it was the way her eyes calculated everything in the room, or how she steered every conversation back to money or status. "Kevin tells me you work as a private investigator," she'd said over dessert. "That must be lucrative." "It pays the bills," I'd replied, noticing how her smile faltered slightly. Over the next few months, I watched Kevin change. My easygoing, thoughtful son became defensive and quick to anger. His college friends stopped coming around. He began dressing differently, more expensively than I knew he could afford. When I gently asked about his new credit card debt, he snapped that his finances weren't my business anymore. "Amanda says I need to present myself better if I want to succeed," he told me during one argument. "You wouldn't understand. You've been wearing the same 3 shirts for 20 years. 6 months after they started dating, Kevin announced they were engaged. I tried to express my concerns about the speed of their relationship, but Kevin accused me of not wanting him to be happy. "You've never given her a chance," he shouted. "Mom would have loved her." That hurt more than he knew. Sarah would have seen through Amanda immediately. As the wedding planning began, I found myself increasingly sidelined. Kevin visited less, called rarely. When we did speak, it was strained, with Amanda often in the background, whispering things I couldn't hear. I made one last attempt to talk to Kevin about my concerns 3 months before the wedding. He ended up storming out of my house, not speaking to me for 2 weeks. After that, I made a decision that went against every instinct I had as an investigator. I asked my business partner, Frank, to run a thorough background check on Amanda. He delivered a sealed file to me, but I placed it in my desk drawer without opening it. I wanted to trust my son's judgment. I wanted to be wrong about Amanda. That file remained unopened as the wedding day approached, though many times I found myself sitting at my desk, hand hovering over the drawer handle, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life by staying silent. Looking back, the warning signs about Amanda were clear, but I'd chosen to ignore them for Kevin's sake. There was the time Kevin mentioned canceling his annual fishing trip with his college buddies because Amanda doesn't like me spending money on hobbies, or the Christmas dinner where she corrected his table manners in front of me, leaving him red-faced and silent for the rest of the meal. That file remained unopened, as the wedding day approached, though many times I found myself sitting at my desk, hand hovering over the drawer handle, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life by staying silent. The wedding planning revealed even more about Amanda's character. Despite Kevin's modest architect's salary and my middle-class savings, she insisted on a venue that cost more than my annual income. I offered to contribute $20,000, nearly emptying my retirement account. Amanda's response? A dismissive, "That's a start, I guess." Her parents, Dale and Patricia Warren, were another mystery. They lived in Portland, a 6-hour drive away, but visited only twice during the 18 months Kevin and Amanda dated. During their second visit, 3 months before the wedding, I invited them for dinner at my home. Dale barely spoke, while Patricia seemed nervous, constantly checking her phone. "How did you feel when Amanda and Kevin got engaged so quickly?" I asked them over coffee. Patricia glanced at her husband before answering carefully. "Amanda has always known what she wants." That wasn't really an answer. But before I could probe further, Dale abruptly changed the subject. 2 weeks before the wedding, I received a surprising call from Patricia Warren. She asked to meet me for coffee without Amanda or Dale knowing. Curious, I agreed. The Patricia, who met me at a small cafe 40 miles from my hometown, was different from the polished woman I'd met before. She seemed tired, her designer outfit replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. "I need to say something," she began, twisting her napkin. "But I don't know how. Just tell me," I encouraged. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "We love our daughter, but—" She stopped, shaking her head. "Just be careful. Watch out for your son." Before I could ask what she meant, she stood up and left, ignoring my calls to come back. That same week, a plain white envelope arrived at my office with no return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "Ask Amanda about Gregory Schiller and Westlake Properties." I didn't recognize the names, and after hesitating, I placed the note in the same drawer as the unopened background check, telling myself I was respecting Kevin's choices. The most unsettling incident occurred at my agency's Christmas party last year, 5 months before the wedding. Frank Donovan, my business partner of 15 years, was recently divorced and significantly wealthier than me thanks to smart investments. When I introduced Amanda to Frank, something shifted in her demeanor. She spent the entire evening by his side, laughing too loudly at his jokes, touching his arm when she spoke. Kevin didn't seem to notice, busy talking with our office manager about architecture. But I noticed Frank's discomfort, the way he kept trying to move away from Amanda. Later, in the parking lot, I overheard Amanda asking Frank about his investment portfolio. The following week, Frank called me. "John, something odd happened." Amanda called the office asking for my personal number, said she had investment questions. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "That she should talk to a financial advisor." "John, I don't want to overstep, but that girl sets off every alarm bell I have." I thanked him for telling me, but did nothing. Another warning ignored. Then suddenly, Amanda's interest in Frank vanished. She became the perfect future daughter-in-law again, sending me birthday cards and occasionally calling just to check in on you, Dad. I wanted to believe she'd had a genuine change of heart, that my suspicions were just the paranoia of an overprotective father. But a month before the wedding, Frank mentioned seeing Amanda having lunch with Gregory Schiller, a name from that anonymous note. When I casually mentioned a Greg Schiller to Amanda at Sunday dinner, her fork clattered to her plate. She recovered quickly, claiming she'd never heard the name, but her eyes told a different story. I knew then I should open that background check file. Instead, I helped Kevin pick up his wedding tuxedo and pretended everything was fine. Despite my decision to trust Kevin's judgment, my investigator instincts wouldn't quiet down. After Patricia's warning and that anonymous note, I found myself conducting a silent investigation of Amanda, observing, without being obvious about it. I began keeping a small notebook, jotting down inconsistencies in her stories. Amanda claimed to be an only child, yet once mentioned a sister living in Arizona. She said her parents had been married 30 years, but Patricia had referred to their 22nd anniversary trip. Small things, perhaps meaningless, but they added up. The rehearsal dinner 3 nights before the wedding was held at an upscale restaurant downtown. Kevin and I arrived early to check on arrangements. Amanda arrived 40 minutes late with her parents. immediately complaining about the flower arrangements Kevin and I had approved. "These centerpieces look cheap," she muttered, loud enough for the event coordinator to hear. The poor woman looked mortified, while Kevin scrambled to apologize for arrangements he had actually liked. As guests arrived, I noticed how differently Amanda behaved with different people. With Kevin's university friends, she was barely civil. With my elderly neighbors who had known Kevin since childhood, she was dismissive. But with Jackson Taylor, Kevin's boss who owned a successful architecture firm, she was effervescent, touching his arm and asking detailed questions about his vacation home in Aspen. I positioned myself near the bar, where I could observe without being obvious. 20 minutes into the dinner, Amanda excused herself from the table. Instead of heading to the restroom, she slipped out onto the restaurant's terrace, phone in hand. Casually, I followed, pretending to need fresh air. "He suspects nothing," I overheard her saying quietly. "The old man is putting up 20 grand, which is pathetic, but Kevin's boss might be a good connection." "Yes. After the honeymoon." "No, I'm not wearing that pendant. It was your grandmother's, not mine." She ended the call abruptly when she noticed me, flashing a bright smile. "Just confirming details with the wedding planner," she said, though it was nearly 10 o'clock at night. The most revealing moment came when an unexpected guest arrived at the dinner. A tall man with gray-streaked dark hair entered the restaurant, scanning the room until his eyes landed on Amanda. Her face drained of color. "These centerpieces look cheap," she muttered, loud enough for the event coordinator to hear. The poor woman looked mortified, while Kevin scrambled to apologize for arrangements he had actually liked. "Thomas?" she replied stiffly. "What are you doing here?" "Having dinner. This is a public restaurant." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your fiancé?" Kevin stood, extending his hand. "Kevin Sanders. And you are?" "Thomas Reeves. Amanda and I are old friends from Seattle, though she went by Mandy back then." Amanda cut in quickly. "Thomas was just leaving. Weren't you?" The man looked at me, then at Kevin, something like pity in his expression. "Congratulations on your wedding," he said finally, before walking away. Later, when I asked Amanda about Seattle, she claimed she'd only visited once and had no idea why Thomas would say otherwise. Kevin accepted her explanation without question. The following morning, I arrived early at Amanda's parents' hotel, claiming I needed to discuss wedding transportation with Dale. Instead, I found myself alone with Patricia in the hotel cafe. "Who is Thomas Reeves?" I asked directly. Patricia's hands trembled around her coffee cup. Amanda dated him in Seattle 4 years ago. They were engaged briefly. Engaged? This was news to me. Amanda had told Kevin she'd had one serious boyfriend before him. "It ended badly," Patricia said, looking around nervously. "Please don't tell Amanda I told you." Back at my office, I finally did something I should have done months earlier. I called a contact at the Seattle Police Department, an old friend who owed me a favor. "Run a background check on Amanda Warren, born September 12, 1989, I requested. And also on Thomas Reeves, likely in his 40s, Seattle area. 3 hours later, my friend called back. "John, this Warren woman has been engaged 3 times in the past 5 years, each time to wealthy men, each relationship ending just before the wedding. There's a pattern of expensive gifts, joint property purchases, then a messy breakup. No criminal charges, but several civil complaints that were settled privately." My stomach knotted. "And Reeves, real estate developer, filed a police report claiming Warren took a $100,000 diamond pendant from him when they broke up, then dropped the charges suddenly. Rumor is she threatened to accuse him of assault if he pursued it." After hanging up, I sat in my office for a long time, staring at the still unopened background check Frank had prepared. Finally, I picked up the phone to call Kevin, to tell him everything before it was too late. His cold response stopped me short. My stomach knotted. "And Reeves?" I found myself saying, "I just wanted to wish you good luck with the final preparations," instead of the truth. That night, I drove past Kevin's apartment and saw Amanda loading several boxes into her car. Curious, I followed her to a storage facility on the edge of town. When she left, I used my investigator credentials to convince the manager to tell me when the unit had been rented. 3 months ago, he said. Paid for a full year up front. Why would someone about to get married rent a secret storage unit? The question haunted me as the wedding day approached. The most damning discovery came completely by accident. The day before the wedding, I stopped by Kevin's apartment to drop off a gift. He wasn't home, but Amanda was, talking on the phone in the bedroom with the door ajar. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but her words froze me in place. Everything's on track for tomorrow. Yes, I've already started moving the valuable stuff. His father's still a problem, but I'll handle him. No, Kevin doesn't suspect anything. 6 months, tops, then we'll do it just like we planned. I left silently, sick to my stomach. That night, I finally opened Frank's background check file. What I found confirmed my worst fears. Amanda Warren had previously been Amanda Schiller and Amanda Reeves. She had a pattern of targeting successful or potentially successful men, isolating them from friends and family, then extracting maximum financial benefit before moving on. But the most shocking revelation was that she appeared to be currently engaged to Gregory Schiller, a wealthy real estate developer, while planning to marry my son. The question was no longer whether to tell Kevin, but how and when. The morning of Kevin's wedding dawned bright and clear, mocking the storm raging inside me. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the background check file, the storage unit receipt, and my notebook of observations. The evidence was overwhelming. Amanda was conning my son. I picked up my phone a dozen times to call Kevin, put it down each time. He wouldn't believe me. Worse, any attempt to stop the wedding would permanently damage our relationship. Yet saying nothing meant watching him marry a woman who would destroy him. I arrived at the church 30 minutes before the ceremony, still undecided. Frank met me at the entrance, concern etched on his face. "You look terrible, John. Did you sleep at all?" I shook my head. "I'm about to lose my son either way." Frank gripped my shoulder. "I've got your back, whatever you decide. And I brought this, just in case." He slipped something into my jacket pocket, a small digital voice recorder. "Old habits," he said with a grim smile. Inside the church, I navigated through clusters of guests, nodding mechanically at well-wishers. Kevin stood near the altar with his best man, looking nervous but happy. When he saw me, his face brightened, and he broke away to approach me. "Dad, you came." Relief colored his voice. I wasn't sure after our argument. I hugged him tightly. "I'll always be here for you, son, no matter what." For a moment, I considered telling him everything right then. Instead, I said, "Are you sure about this, Kevin? Marriage is a big step." His expression closed off. "Don't start, Dad. Not today. I just want you to be happy. Amanda makes me happy. Why can't you accept that?" He turned away as the wedding coordinator signaled it was time to take positions. I slid into the front pew, feeling like I was watching a car crash in slow motion. The music started, the bridesmaids processed, and then Amanda appeared, radiant in white. Even knowing what I knew, I had to admit she was stunning, perfectly playing the role of the blushing bride. During the ceremony, I noticed Amanda's eyes constantly scanning the guests, as if looking for someone. Her vows sounded rehearsed, empty of real emotion, but Kevin didn't seem to notice. When the minister asked if anyone objected to the union, I felt Frank tense beside me, but I remained silent. I couldn't humiliate my son in front of everyone he knew. As guests filed out for the transition to the reception hall, I noticed a man standing at the back of the church, partially hidden behind a column. Something about him seemed familiar. When he moved into the light, I recognized him. Gregory Schiller, the man mentioned in the anonymous note, the one Frank had seen Amanda with. The reception was held at an expensive hotel downtown. I sat at the family table, watching Amanda work the room, her behavior shifting depending on who she was talking to. With Kevin's former professors, she was intellectual and serious. With his childhood friends, she was casual and fun. With his boss, she was ambitious and forward-thinking. It was like watching an actress cycle through different roles. During dinner, I excused myself to use the restroom. In the hallway, I nearly collided with the man I'd noticed in the church. Up close, Gregory Schiller was expensively dressed, around 40, with the confident bearing of someone used to getting his way. "You're John Sanders," he said without preamble. "Kevin's father." I nodded, instantly on guard. "And you are?" "Greg Schiller. We need to talk about Amanda. He led me to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. I'm guessing you have suspicions about your new daughter-in-law, or you wouldn't be talking to me. What's your connection to Amanda? I asked. Greg's laugh was bitter. I'm her fiancé, or at least, I was, until I followed her to a dinner last month and saw her with your son. My blood ran cold. She's engaged to you, too? Was, he corrected. I confronted her last week. She denied everything, claimed Kevin was just a client at her accounting firm. When I didn't believe her, she threatened to tell the police I'd been stalking and threatening her. That fits her pattern, I said grimly. Greg's eyebrows rose. You've investigated her. I'm a private investigator. And yes, I know about Thomas Reeves in Seattle, and probably others we haven't identified yet. He pulled out his phone, showing me photos of Amanda with him at various events, a large diamond ring visible on her finger. In one, they stood in front of a house with a sold sign. We closed on this property 3 months ago. Joint ownership, but I paid the full down payment. Last week, I discovered she's been transferring furniture and artwork out bit by bit. She has a storage unit across town, I told him. Classic Amanda. She did the same thing to a doctor in Portland 2 years ago. I only found out after hiring my own investigator. Greg leaned closer. Look, I'm not here to cause a scene. I just thought you and your son deserved to know who you're dealing with. Kevin wouldn't believe me without proof, I admitted. I have proof. Greg handed me a USB drive. Financial records, photos, text messages, even a recording of her threatening me. I was going to give this to the police, but maybe you can use it to save your son some pain. As he walked away, I pocketed the USB drive, mind racing. Returning to the reception, I spotted Amanda watching me, eyes narrowed in suspicion. She must have seen me talking to Greg. I barely tasted the wedding dinner, thoughts consumed with what to do. The proof was in my pocket, but exposing Amanda publicly would humiliate Kevin. Yet saying nothing meant watching him leave on a honeymoon with a woman who would systematically destroy his life. When the dancing started, Amanda approached me, her smile not reaching her eyes. I need to speak with you again, Dad. The way she said Dad made my skin crawl. She led me to the same secluded spot behind the decorative pillar. I saw you talking to Greg, she said, voice hard. Whatever he told you is a lie. I know everything, Amanda, I replied quietly. About Seattle? Portland? Your multiple engagements? The storage unit? Something dangerous flashed in her eyes. Prove it. I thought of the USB drive in my pocket, the recorder Frank had given me. I can. Amanda's face transformed. Beautiful features, twisting with malice. It doesn't matter. Kevin trusts me, not you. If you say anything, you'll lose him forever. Better than watching you destroy him. Here's what's going to happen, she hissed, grabbing my arm with surprising strength. You're going to give us a generous wedding gift. Say, a down payment for a house. $500,000 should do it. I almost laughed. That's more than I have in total assets. Figure it out. Sell your agency, take out loans. I don't care. Her nails dug into my arm. If you don't, I'll tell Kevin you made a pass at me, that you've been inappropriate since we met. Maybe even that this baby I'm planning to have is yours, not his. You're not pregnant, I said, calling her bluff. Her smile was chilling. Kevin doesn't know that. He'll believe his new wife over his pathetic, jealous father. She released my arm. You have until the end of the reception to decide. We'll be opening gifts soon. As Amanda walked away, I felt for the recorder in my pocket, hoping it had captured every word of her threat. It was time to end this charade, whatever the cost. I stood frozen for several minutes after Amanda walked away, the weight of her threat crushing down on me. The reception continued around me, guests laughing and dancing, completely unaware of the drama unfolding. Kevin caught my eye from across the room, giving me a thumbs up, his face radiating happiness. My heart broke for what was about to happen to him. Frank appeared at my elbow, expression concerned. You okay, John? You look like you've seen a ghost. I pulled him into a quiet corner. Amanda just threatened to tell Kevin I made sexual advances toward her if I don't give them $500,000 for a house. Frank whistled low. Tell me you got that on the recorder. I patted my pocket, nodding. And I have more. Greg Schiller is here. Turns out Amanda's engaged to him too. He gave me a USB drive with evidence of her scams. Jesus, Frank muttered. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. I need to think. Frank squeezed my shoulder. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But John, your son deserves the truth, no matter how painful. Frank squeezed my shoulder. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But John, your son deserves the truth, no matter how painful. I tried once more to speak privately with Kevin, catching him near the bar. Son, can we talk for a moment? It's important. Kevin's smile was relaxed, happiness making him more generous than he'd been in months. Can it wait until tomorrow, Dad? I'm trying to enjoy my wedding day. Kevin, it's about Amanda. There's something you need to know. His face hardened instantly. Stop. I don't want to hear it. Whatever problem you have with Amanda, it's your problem, not mine. She's my wife now. Son, please, just listen for 5 minutes. No. Kevin's voice was firm. I love her, Dad. Why can't you accept that? Why can't you just be happy for me? Before I could respond, Amanda appeared, slipping her arm through Kevin's. Everything okay, honey? She asked, giving me a warning look. Kevin kissed her forehead. Everything's perfect. Dad was just leaving. He walked away, taking Amanda with him, leaving me standing alone. Returning to the reception, I noticed Amanda drinking heavily, something I hadn't seen her do before. After her 4th glass of champagne, she disappeared briefly with Jason, one of Kevin's groomsmen. They returned separately, Amanda's lipstick slightly smudged, Jason looking guilty when he caught my eye. I found myself next to Patricia Warren at the dessert table. Amanda's mother looked miserable, despite the celebration. Your daughter just threatened to falsely accuse me of sexual impropriety if I don't buy them a house, I said quietly. Patricia closed her eyes briefly. I'm so sorry. I tried to warn you. Why didn't you do more? Tell Kevin directly? You don't understand. Amanda has information about our family. Things that would destroy us if they came out. Patricia's voice shook. We've enabled her for years because we're too afraid to stand up to her. What kind of information? She shook her head. It doesn't matter. What matters is that your son is in danger. Not physically, but in every other way. Patricia looked around nervously. Amanda has done this before. 3 times that we know of. She finds men with potential, men who have successful careers or family money, and she bleeds them dry. Why are you telling me this now, after they're married? Because I saw the way you look at your son. The same way I once looked at my daughter, before I realized what she was. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. We lost our daughter years ago, to whatever darkness drives her. Don't lose your son too. As Patricia walked away, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. More proof of Amanda's deceptions. From a friend. Opening my email, I found a message containing screenshots of conversations between Amanda and another man, dated just 2 weeks ago. Explicit messages, plans to meet in hotels, and most damningly, discussions of how to maximize financial gain from her marriage to Kevin before ending it. The sender had helpfully included the man's contact information. A quick call confirmed he'd been involved with Amanda for 6 months, completely unaware she was about to marry someone else. My decision crystallized. I would not let this woman destroy my son. The truth would hurt Kevin terribly, but the alternative was far worse. I was preparing to approach the microphone for the father's speech when Amanda intercepted me, her eyes glassy from alcohol but her grip on my arm still firm. Have you made your decision? She demanded. The gift envelopes are being collected now. I have, I said calmly. And? I'm not giving you a cent, Amanda. In fact, I'm going to tell Kevin everything right now. She laughed, the sound brittle. He won't believe you, and I'll make sure he never speaks to you again. I have proof, I said, patting my pocket where the recorder and USB drive sat. Recordings, financial records, testimonies from your other victims. Even your mother is ready to tell the truth. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Amanda's face. Then her expression hardened. It doesn't matter what evidence you have. I'll tell Kevin you doctored it all because you've always hated me. I'll tell him you threatened me, touched me inappropriately, It'll be your word against mine, and he loves me. Maybe, I conceded. But this isn't just my word anymore. Greg Schiller is here. Your boyfriend from 2 weeks ago is on his way. And I have a feeling if I asked Thomas Reeves to fly in from Seattle, he'd be happy to share his experiences too. Amanda's face paled slightly, but she recovered quickly. You're bluffing. Am I? I've been a private investigator for 30 years, Amanda. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the woman my son was marrying? She tried another tactic, tears suddenly filling her eyes. Please don't do this. I love Kevin. I made mistakes in the past, but this is different. Save the performance, I said tiredly. The reception's almost over, and I have a father's speech to give. As I walked away, Amanda called after me. You'll regret this. I'll make sure Kevin never forgives you. Maybe she was right. But as I approached the microphone, I knew I was doing the right thing, even if it cost me my relationship with my son. As I walked away, Amanda called after me. You'll regret this. I'll make sure Kevin never forgives you. She tried another tactic, tears suddenly filling her eyes. Please don't do this. I love Kevin. I made mistakes in the past, but this is different. Good evening, everyone, I began, voice steadier than I expected. For those who don't know me, I'm John Sanders, Kevin's father. Warm applause filled the room. I caught Kevin's eye and saw pure love there. It nearly broke my resolve, but I thought of the evidence in my pocket, of Amanda's vicious threats, and continued. 28 years ago, I held my son for the first time. He was so small, so perfect. His mother Sarah and I promised to protect him with everything we had. My voice caught briefly on Sarah's name. When cancer took Sarah 16 years ago, that promise became my guiding star. I saw Kevin's eyes glisten with tears at the mention of his mother. Even Amanda had the decency to look solemn. Kevin and I weathered that storm together. We built a new life, just the two of us. I watched him grow into a man of integrity, kindness, and remarkable talent. His mother would be so proud of the architect, the man he's become. More applause, with several of Kevin's longtime friends nodding in agreement. As parents, we make mistakes. We hold on too tight sometimes, worry too much. When Kevin started dating, I probably interrogated his girlfriends more than I should have. This earned understanding laughter from the crowd. It's hard to believe anyone is good enough for your child. I paused, taking a deep breath. When Kevin met Amanda, I saw how happy she made him. Every father wants that for his son. The lie tasted bitter, but I needed to ease into what came next. Amanda's posture relaxed slightly, perhaps thinking I'd decided against exposure. Kevin was smiling, clearly touched by my words so far. Throughout my career as an investigator, I've learned some important truths. First, evidence never lies, even when people do. Second, the hardest truths are often the ones we most need to hear. And finally, real love means protecting those we care about, even when it's difficult, even when it costs us. Amanda shifted in her seat, eyes darting toward the exit. Frank subtly moved to block her potential escape route. Kevin has always valued honesty above all else. Sarah and I taught him that integrity isn't just about not lying, it's about living truthfully. About being the same person in private that you are in public. Throughout my career as an investigator, I've learned some important truths. First, evidence never lies, even when people do. Second, the hardest truths are often the ones we most need to hear. And finally, real love means protecting those we care about, even when it's difficult, even when it costs us. Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. Kevin's brow furrowed as he tried to understand where my speech was going. Amanda's knuckles were white around her champagne glass. Before I continue, I want to welcome a few unexpected guests to our celebration. I gestured toward the back of the room, where Greg Schiller stood. Greg, would you join us, please? The recording continued, capturing every word of her threat. As it played, Amanda's face contorted with rage. She lunged toward me, trying to grab the recorder, but Frank caught her arm. For those who don't know him, Greg Schiller is a real estate developer from Portland. He's also engaged to Amanda, or at least, he was until recently. Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. Kevin's brow furrowed as he tried to understand where my speech was going. Amanda's knuckles were white around her champagne glass. Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. Kevin's brow furrowed as he tried to understand where my speech was going. Amanda's knuckles were white around her champagne glass. Greg calmly pulled out his phone, pulling up a photo of him and Amanda in front of a house, her wearing an engagement ring. He passed the phone to Kevin, whose face drained of color. "There's more," I continued, my heart breaking for my son, but knowing I had to finish what I'd started. "Amanda has a pattern of engaging wealthy or promising men, isolating them from friends and family, then extracting maximum financial benefit before moving on. She's done this at least 3 times before Kevin." Amanda stood abruptly. "He's lying. Kevin, your father has always hated me. He's fabricated all of this because he can't stand to see you happy." "Amanda?" I said calmly. "Or should I say Mandy Reeves, as you were known in Seattle? Or Amanda Schiller, your legal name until 2 years ago?" Her eyes widened in panic. "Everything I'm saying can be proven," I continued, addressing the stunned crowd. "I have financial records, witness statements, and recordings." I reached into my pocket, feeling for the USB drive and recorder. Amanda suddenly bolted toward the exit, but Frank stepped into her path. "Going somewhere?" he asked quietly. Kevin stood now too, his voice breaking as he addressed his new wife. "Amanda, tell me this isn't true. Tell me my dad is wrong." She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Kevin, baby, your father is trying to ruin us. He threatened me, said he'd destroy our marriage if I didn't sleep with him." The accusation hung in the air, exactly as she'd threatened. Several guests looked at me in horror. "That's a lie," I said firmly, pulling out the recorder. "In fact, let me play you what Amanda said to me less than an hour ago." She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Kevin, baby, your father is trying to ruin us. He threatened me, said he'd destroy our marriage if I didn't sleep with him." She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Kevin, baby, your father is trying to ruin us. He threatened me, said he'd destroy our marriage if I didn't sleep with him." "That's a lie," I said firmly, pulling out the recorder. "In fact, let me play you what Amanda said to me less than an hour ago." The doors at the back of the reception hall opened, and 2 police officers entered, accompanied by Thomas Reeves from Seattle. Apparently, Greg had been busy making calls. Greg walked forward, his presence causing whispers among the guests. Kevin looked bewildered, Amanda horrified. Kevin stood frozen, his world visibly crumbling around him. I wanted nothing more than to embrace him, to shield him from this public humiliation, but I knew he needed to hear everything. "Son," I said softly into the microphone, "I'm so sorry. I tried to tell you privately, but there wasn't time. I couldn't let you leave with her, knowing what I knew." The hall had descended into chaos. Guests were standing, talking loudly, some recording the scene on their phones. Amanda was arguing vehemently with the police officers, denying everything despite the evidence. Her parents had disappeared, seemingly unwilling to witness their daughter's exposure. In the midst of the commotion, Kevin walked straight to me. I braced myself for his anger, his hatred, his accusations. Instead, he took the microphone from my hand. "Everyone, please," he said, his voice remarkably steady. "I need a moment with my father. Alone." The room gradually quieted, all eyes on Kevin as he led me out to the hotel terrace, closing the glass doors behind us. For a long moment, he just stared at me, emotions warring across his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw with pain. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" The question cut deep because I had no good answer. "I tried, son. You wouldn't listen. And part of me wanted to be wrong. I wanted her to be everything you thought she was." Kevin turned away, looking out at the city lights. "All those times you tried to warn me. I thought you were just being overprotective. I should have been more direct. Shown you the evidence when I first had it." He whirled back to face me. "Yes, you should have. Before I married her. Before all this public humiliation." His voice broke. "Do you have any idea how this feels? Everyone I know just watched my marriage implode before it even began." "I know," I said quietly, "and I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you, if you'll let me." Kevin's anger seemed to drain away suddenly, leaving only exhaustion and sorrow. "She seemed so perfect," he whispered. "I really thought she loved me." I risked placing a hand on his shoulder. "People like Amanda are expert manipulators. They show you exactly what you want to see." "Was any of it real?" he asked, more to himself than to me. "I don't know, son. But what's real is that you deserve better. Much better." Kevin looked back through the glass doors at the chaos still unfolding in the reception hall. Amanda was now sitting with the police officers, her mascara streaked down her face. Greg Schiller was showing something on his phone to another officer. "What happens now?" Kevin asked. "That's up to you. The marriage can be annulled. The police will handle Amanda. As for us..." I hesitated. "I hope we can find our way back to each other." Kevin was quiet for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, he pulled me into a fierce hug. "Thank you," he whispered, "for loving me enough to tell the truth, no matter the cost." As we embraced, I felt something shift between us, a healing beginning amid the wreckage of this terrible day. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time in months, I had hope for my relationship with my son. We returned to the reception hall to find it in a state of controlled chaos. The police were escorting Amanda toward the exit, not in handcuffs but clearly in custody. She caught sight of Kevin and me entering together, and her expression darkened. "Kevin!" she called out, struggling against the officer's guiding hand. "Don't believe them! I love you! Your father is lying!" Kevin looked at her for a long moment, his face remarkably composed. "Goodbye, Amanda," he said simply, before turning away. Her face contorted with rage. "You're making a huge mistake. Both of you will regret this." As the police led her away, guests began approaching Kevin, offering awkward condolences and support. His college roommate Jake wrapped him in a bear hug. His boss promised him time off. Even Amanda's bridesmaids, looking shell-shocked, came to express their horror at her deception. Frank made his way to my side. "You okay?" I nodded, watching Kevin accept a glass of whiskey from a groomsman. "I think we will be. Eventually." "For what it's worth," Frank said, "you did the right thing. That woman would have destroyed him." "I know. I just wish I'd found a better way. A more private way." The DJ, clearly unsure what to do, had started playing music again, though no one was dancing. Kevin's best man was organizing the removal of wedding gifts. Amanda's parents were nowhere to be seen, having apparently slipped out during the confrontation. Greg Schiller approached us, looking solemn. "The police want statements from both of you. They're taking Amanda in for questioning about multiple fraud allegations." "Will charges be filed?" I asked. "Almost certainly. Between my evidence, what Thomas brought from Seattle, and your recordings, they have plenty to work with. She'll probably try to plea bargain, but she's looking at serious consequences." As Greg walked away, Kevin joined us, eyes red but dry. "What did he say?" I summarized the situation. Kevin nodded, processing. "Good. She shouldn't be able to do this to anyone else." We spent the next hour talking with police, giving statements about Amanda's threats and behavior. By the time we finished, most guests had departed, leaving just Kevin's closest friends and a few relatives. Kevin's cousin Mark suggested moving the gathering to a nearby bar. "No sense letting an open bar tab at the hotel go to waste," he joked, drawing a small smile from Kevin. "You go ahead," Kevin told them. "I need some time." As his friends reluctantly departed, Kevin and I found ourselves alone in the half-dismantled reception hall. Wedding decorations hung limply, the fancy cake untouched, champagne glasses abandoned mid-toast. "Some wedding, huh?" Kevin said with a hollow laugh. "I'm so sorry, son." He shook his head. "Stop apologizing. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." He looked around at the wedding debris. "Though I do wish we could have figured this out before I spent $50,000 on this circus. If it helps, I suspect we can recoup some of the costs through the fraud case." Kevin loosened his bow tie, suddenly looking very young and lost. "What do I do now, Dad? How do I face everyone at work on Monday? How do I explain to clients why I'm not on my honeymoon?" "One day at a time," I said gently. "And you don't face it alone. I'm here. Your friends are here." We walked out of the hotel together into the cool night air. Neither of us suggested returning to Kevin's apartment, where Amanda had been living for the past month. Instead, Without discussion, we drove to my house, the same home where Kevin had grown up. I made up the bed in his old room, still kept ready for his visits, though they'd grown rare in recent months. Kevin looked around at his high school trophies, architectural sketches, and photos with friends. "It's been a while," he said quietly. "Your room's always here. You're always welcome." Kevin sat heavily on the edge of the bed. "I feel like such a fool, Dad. All the signs were there. You saw it. Why couldn't I?" I sat beside him. "Because you wanted to see the best in her." "That's not foolishness, Kevin. It's one of the things I love most about you, your willingness to believe in people. Mom would have seen through Amanda immediately, wouldn't she?" I smiled at the memory of my perceptive wife. Within 5 minutes, Sarah could spot a phony a mile away. Kevin chuckled softly, then grew serious. "I'm going to need to figure some things out. Maybe take a leave from work. Get away for a while. Whatever you need. My door is always open." We talked late into the night. Really talked. For the first time in over a year. About Amanda, about his career dreams, about how we drifted apart. Around 2 in the morning, Kevin finally fell asleep, exhausted by the day's emotional toll. I watched him for a moment, this grown man who would always be my little boy, and silently renewed the promise I'd made when he was born, to protect him with everything I had. 6 months passed. The annulment was granted quickly, given the circumstances. Amanda faced multiple fraud charges, eventually accepting a plea deal that included restitution to her victims and probation. The scandal faded, as scandals do, replaced by newer gossip and dramas. Kevin took a month off work, spending part of it at my house and part hiking the Appalachian Trail alone. When he returned, he seemed lighter, more himself than he'd been in the nearly 2 years of Amanda's influence. He moved into a new apartment, joined a rock climbing club, reconnected with old friends. We established a new tradition: Sunday dinners at my house, just the two of us. Sometimes we talked about serious things, sometimes we just watched sports and argued about pizza toppings. The important part was that we were talking, really talking, not just exchanging pleasantries. On a warm Sunday evening in October, as we sat on my back porch after dinner, Kevin surprised me with a question. "Dad, do you think I'll ever trust anyone enough to try again? To get married, you mean?" He nodded, twirling his beer bottle between his hands. "I do," I said honestly. "You have a remarkable capacity for forgiveness and hope, Kevin. You get that from your mother. I'm just afraid I'll miss the warning signs again. Maybe. Or maybe you'll be more cautious, in a healthy way." I hesitated, then added, "And maybe next time, you'll listen if your old man raises a few concerns." Kevin laughed. "Count on it. I might even ask you to run a background check from the start." We chuckled together, the pain of those events finally beginning to heal. "You know," Kevin said thoughtfully, "as horrible as that day was, I'm grateful for what you did. Not just exposing Amanda, but showing me what real love looks like." I looked at him questioningly. "Real love is telling the truth even when it hurts," he explained. "It's doing what's right for someone, even if they hate you for it. It's what you did for Mom when she was sick, and what you did for me at that wedding." His words filled my heart with a warmth I hadn't felt in years. "I learned from the best," I told him, thinking of Sarah. "Your mother taught me that love isn't just about grand gestures or romantic moments. It's about showing up, day after day, especially when it's hard." Kevin nodded. "I think I understand that now, better than I did before." As the sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I realized that despite the pain and public humiliation of that wedding day, something valuable had emerged. My son and I had found our way back to each other, our bond stronger for having been tested. And Kevin had learned a crucial lesson about love and truth that would serve him well for the rest of his life. The truth isn't always comfortable or convenient. Sometimes it's downright painful, but it's the only solid foundation on which to build anything meant to last. Whether it's a marriage, a career, or a relationship between father and son. What do you think? Would you have done the same in my position? Exposed a painful truth publicly to protect someone you love? I hope you never face such a difficult choice. But if you do, remember that real love sometimes means choosing truth over comfort. Comment below with your thoughts. Like this video if you found value in our story. Subscribe for more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that truth, even when painful, is an act of love. Thank you for listening, and may your own relationships be built on honesty and trust.